That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students.
Love is the answer. Community is the contest. City with Dwellings works to create change and cultivate a community of care so that people can move with dignity from trauma and homelessness to healing and housing stability. City with Dwellings serves people in Winston-Salem and Forsyth County experiencing homelessness and housing security with an intentional focus on individuals experiencing unsheltered homelessness, living in places not fit for human habitation. For volunteer opportunities, visit City with Dwellings on Broad Street in Winston-Salem or visit their website, citywithdwellings.org.
Nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible. It's time to lift your spirit. And Jill Berlin is here to motivate and inspire you. Welcome to the Jill Berlin Show on Triad Today.
And welcome to the Jill Berlin Show. We are here on WSJS News Talk Sports for the Triad. We can be heard over the air, online, YouTube, podcast. We got it all. All right. I am so excited to share with you first the positive quote of the day, as we always do. This one's by Susan B. Anthony. And she said, wherever women gather together, failure is impossible. All right. Someone who I talked to while in Washington, D.C. is a powerhouse of a woman. She came from a very poor background. She didn't even have running water in her house until 14 years old. She is from the mountains of North Carolina, and she is the only woman in Congress right now to chair a committee. The rest are men. This is my interview with Congresswoman. Actually, you know what? I should say Chairwoman Virginia Foxx.
Can be in what I consider the greatest deliberative body in the world. The Senate likes to claim that title, but I really think it's the House because the Senate doesn't do much deliberation. We do a lot of deliberation.
It's true.
So it's really a testament to our country and the fact that we live in the freest, greatest country in the world, and I'm doing my best to keep it that way. That's my goal, and to keep the opportunities that I had available to other people. There are still people with very little privilege in this country. I mean, my parents, I was poor, very, very poor. My parents had little formal education, 6th grade and 9th grade for my mother and father. But they were smart people, they were hardworking people. And what I like is to keep the opportunity for people younger than I am to have the same opportunities. So I always tell young people, if God gave you a talent, this is the greatest country in the world for you to be able to develop that talent.
It's so true. And I tell my kids that all the time. Your gut is God. Listen to your gut instincts. Tell me a little bit about how you are seeing a difference now with this president versus the last administration.
Oh my goodness. The saying that there's a difference between night and day it is not strong enough. I mean, under the previous administration, nothing was going on. We never saw the president. He was almost catatonic, whereas this president has at least as much energy as I do, and maybe a little bit more.
I don't think that's possible.
We're about the same age, and we're both extremely energetic. People wonder, does he sleep? Do I sleep? But, you know, he's just getting great things done. He says more in 2 weeks than the previous administration in 4 years. However, I would modify that to say the previous administration did a lot of bad things over a 4-year period of time, a lot of bad things. And what President Trump has done in 2 weeks is tried to undo a lot of the bad things that the previous administration did, but also do a lot of good things. So the difference is incredible between the two administrations. And President Trump has high approval ratings. President Biden's approval ratings were in the toilet, and they deserve to be. He was a terrible president. I think he'll go down as one of the worst presidents we have, and I think President Trump will go down as one of the best presidents we've had, and certainly one of the boldest presidents we've ever had.
All right, so you're obviously a very bold woman. I was talking to one of your staffers, and we were both singing your praises about how you are such a bold woman, and we love that about you. Tell us about this House Rules Committee and why it's so powerful, because one of the things that we're trying to do here on my show is we really want to educate folks, because we are, obviously you keep getting voted into office time and time again, as you should. And I think that there's a lot of people who don't understand what it is that, congressional members do every day. So why is this committee such a big deal? Not only because you're the first Republican woman to chair it, but because of the power that is within that committee.
Well, the Rules Committee is one of the oldest committees in Congress. I think it's second to Ways and Means, but it was formed very early on, 1789, and it sets the rules for debate. It's the last committee that a bill goes to before the bill goes to the floor. So the Rules Committee has the power to modify the bill and also to approve or disapprove amendments. And so it does have a great deal of power. Now, it is the Speaker's committee. So the Speaker does a lot to make sure that what the Speaker's agenda is gets done through the Rules Committee. It's the smallest committee in Congress, even though it's the most powerful. There are 9 members on the majority side and 4 members on the minority side. So if you're in the majority, you always win. If you're in the minority, you always lose. That's discouraging when you're in the minority. I was on the committee for 4 years in the minority. It's no fun, especially when you're the most junior person in the minority. You wait around for a lot of people to talk, but it controls the rules for the debate. It tells the committees how long they can debate, and it controls the amendments that will go on the bill. Sometimes there are none, sometimes there are hundreds. And so the Rules Committee staff and the Rules Committee members have to read through all of the amendments that are put forth and decide which ones will be allowed to go forward and which ones won't be allowed. Now, sometimes the amendments are called not germane, meaning that their subject matter doesn't fit the subject matter of the bill. Those amendments can't go forward anyway. And that is a combination of a discussion between the Rules Committee and the parliamentarians. So it's the last stop before a bill goes to the floor.
I love that. All right, so tell us a little bit about your position now on the FEMA Council. You're reviewing FEMA to see if it's effective, not effective. You especially, I'm sure all of this stuff that hit home with Helene, because you're from the mountains, and you were there in the trenches right away trying to help, trying to say, hey, we're not getting any relief here. We need help. We need help.
Right. A friend of mine in Ashe County calls it Helene.
That is so appropriate. I can't believe I haven't heard of that
nice
before.
Nice play on words.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's funny, not funny,
Yeah, I know. The hurricane hit on September 27th. I had a meeting the next day in Winston-Salem, and so I packed up my stuff, drew a bunch of water and milk jugs for my husband, and he didn't want to leave. I said, okay, I've got to go. I'm going to have a meeting tomorrow, and I want to make sure I can get there. We weren't sure how bad it was going to be. Reports were it's going to be bad. So I left home that night and stayed in a hotel. It's a good thing I did, because my driveway got washed away in the flooding that occurred with Helene. I mean, we've had this driveway for 30 years, never had any problem with it. So my husband was stranded for 10 days.
Oh my gosh.
No electricity, no running water. and no internet for a while, no phone service.
How long did it take for you to get in touch with them?
A couple of days to get in touch with him before
That's
some
scary.
kind of phone service came back. The cell phone service came back first. We still have a landline, but because he had a car at home and we had a car, I had my car out, I was able to drive down to the bridge, walk across, and take some food to him and things like that. But anyway, so we were in the middle of it ourselves. And then you're right, from the moment it hit, I was working to help other people cope with it. And my whole area, the Watauga River really did a lot of damage. 1940 was a big flood and did a lot of damage then too. So I've been in the middle of helping people. At the time I had Mitchell County, I had Avery County. They were hit very hard. So 2 weeks into it, I knew FEMA was horrible. It was a terrible agency not doing its job. And I told my staff then, no matter what happens, I knew I was being considered for the rules chairmanship at that time. I said, no matter what happens, I'm taking on FEMA. And fortunately for me, I think fortunately, the president put me on this task force, which he formed when he came down to North Carolina a few days ago to look at the damage. He came when he was a candidate, and then he came back as president, and that was more than the Biden administration did.
Oh.
So I'm on the task force, and my role is to figure out a way to either eliminate FEMA or make it functional. Right now, it is not functional.
Mm-hmm. And that's actually, I've heard that from other citizens in the mountains, that they are just, the relief was just not there with FEMA, and it was just so poor. And it's so hard because when you're in that situation, you hope that these tasks, these people will help you out, and then when you don't get that relief, it's frustrating, it's scary, it's all those feelings. Chairwoman Foxx, do you have anything else that you would like to say to your constituents? And also, do you have any advice for people, especially young women who are growing up and may experience hardships or whatnot? How you do it? How do you? And you said earlier, if you find your God-given talent and use it. But even just the day-to-day of persevering, that persistence.
Well, persistence is great. And I think we just had it as a quote in our newsletter recently. But there are days when everybody's discouraged. I get discouraged a lot of days. But I say to myself, okay, 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other, and you just go at it. I think, again, my having grown up extremely poor, having to work hard all my life, certainly prepared me for this job, because this is not for the faint-hearted. This is a tough job to do, because you're one of 435 in the House, and then there are 100 in the Senate, and you have to really work at getting things done. None of us are dictators. The president's not a dictator. The president has to work with Congress to get things done. So my advice to people is work hard, show up early, stay late, make yourself as indispensable as you possibly can. That's what I tell young people all the time. But do the job you can the best that you possibly can. Don't settle for second best. I tell my staff all the time, we will never achieve perfection, but we strive for perfection. If you start out striving for less than that, then pretty soon your standards go down, down, down. My standards are to make sure every constituent is helped to the nth degree. I tell people I will go to the ends of the earth if a constituent is right. And in terms of legislation, I'll do everything I can to get legislation passed. So in our office, we really operate on 2 tracks. One, help people who have problems with the federal government. That's part of our job, and we do everything in those lines. And then the other is the opportunity to introduce and pass legislation. So I see myself very strongly in both of those areas. I'm a legislator, but I am also somebody who helps solve problems.
All right. And I know you got to go because now you're going to the White House.
Right.
So I'm going to thank you so much for talking with us and sitting down with us. And again, for shattering all those glass ceilings.
Well, I don't know that I've shattered them all, but I'm doing my best to make a way for other people, particularly people from the mountains, and yes, for women, because we're still in the minority in elected office. And I think it's important that we hear from all kinds of voices in our Congress.
I agree. All right. We heard it from Chairwoman Virginia Foxx. We're so grateful for this interview. I'm Jill Berlin. All right. When we come back, we are going to talk to you about your refund. Everyone wants to know, when is the IRS sending me money? We'll let you know how and where and what to do when we come back. Stay tuned.